I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Board of Leavenworth County Commission. Would like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start with a moment of silence and like to remember A.C. Bird and Jeff Sontag family. And Mrs. Sontag had passed and A.C. Bird has passed. Our roll call, Commissioner Stevens is present, Commissioner Shimke is present, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Cause, and Commissioner Colson are all present. I'd like to open up the public comment portion of our meeting. And before I do, I'd just like to reread our public comment policy. In public comment, a citizen desiring to speak on an item that is directly relevant to the County Commission business may do so at this time. A speaker shall refrain from making personal, rude, or slanderous remarks against any person, individuals, personnel issues, and pending legal matters shall not be discussed in open meetings, including the citizen comment portion of the meeting. So anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come forward and state your name. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to administrative business.
I do have a couple of items this morning. First one, just an update. We had talked about domain names, and we have been able to acquire the .gov domain for the Leavenworth County. Filled out the necessary paperwork and got notification of that early in the week, so I wanted to pass that on. Wanted to briefly discuss one of the topics out of one of our planning and zoning work session was to have a joint planning and zoning meeting, so a meeting with the Board of County Commissioners and the Planning and Zoning Commission. I will be working on getting that scheduled. I sent an email to all of you asking if you could give me your topics so I can compile something so to set an agenda. We will strive to have that occur in the next couple of weeks, but given we have a holiday week coming up, I'm not sure we'll be able to get that done, but we'll do everything we can to try to get that scheduled prior to the Planning and Zoning meeting on the 10th. If not, it will be shortly thereafter. Just wanted to give an update on that. That's all I had for executive session. I think you had something.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I would ask the Board entertain an executive session of 15 minutes with myself, Mr. Lawford, and the members of the Board. I'd suggest that meeting be conducted at the end of your regular business.
Okay. And you have the statute ready for us to read?
I have the motion prepared.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further administrative business?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Has commissioners had a chance to look at the consent agenda? Is there any questions or concerns with the consent agenda?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, voting?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
Okay, that carries. Okay, are we ready for Public Works? Mr. Spickelmeyer?
Ladies and gentlemen, I have just one item to present to the board this morning. The transfer station operates remotely from the Leavenworth County and its IT infrastructure. And in order to accomplish that, we used a system that has been in place for about 15 years. We're starting to experience some intermittent failures, and after discussions with the information technology department, They indicate that the system is likely well beyond its anticipated lifespan, and that we would receive better service if we were to upgrade to this current system that is operating between the shop and the EMS station between here and the link. So essentially what I'm asking for is permission to upgrade the system from what we refer to as, or what they refer to as the Canopy system, to the Wave IP system, and I would ask for permission to expend funds out of the reserve account for this upgrade. This was not originally anticipated in the 2019 budget, which is why it needs to come before the county commissioners. There was IT funding set aside in the reserve account when they established the system to begin with. It does, but that's also for multiple things, so we will need to make some kind of replenishment, and I've accounted for that in the 2020 budget. So.
Commissioner, have any questions, Mr. Spickmeyer? We was hoping Larry'd be no, that's fine. No questions of Mr. Spickmeyer, then I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve expenditure for solid waste equipment reserve not to exceed $11,000, replacement of the wireless link.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting, start with Jeff.
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Ready for Mr. Weber?
Morning.
Morning, Mr.
Morning.
Weber. How are you today?
Good. I have, first, I guess we have three disaster relief applications. These are all applications for the homes that were destroyed by fire. We have not received any applications for tornado damage as of yet. The first application is for 400 Brookwood Terraces application. This home was destroyed, it would have been last November, I believe. And they're eligible under the Kansas statute for a credit against, since it was destroyed after August 15th, or on or after August 15th, they're eligible for a credit for against 2019 taxes, their 2018 value against their 2019 taxes for a credit. So I'm recommending, typically what we have done, and what other counties have done, if not familiar, is we abated taxes, we prorated the taxes on the home that was destroyed as of the date of disaster for the remainder of the year. So this is a small one since it happened in November. And that abatement would be for $2,732 of assessed value as of November 18th. Excuse me. November 14th of 2018.
Mr. Van Paris, would the motion, would it be the person's name or just the tax ID number would be the appropriate motion?
Actually, I think it'd be more accurate for future reference to use the tax ID number.
Thank
I
you.
have on my request for board action recommendation, I have
Okay,
suggested.
okay. Any questions of Mr. Weber? This is kind of a,
I had a question for, I was visiting with Representative Dove last night, and he said there was a tornado down in Wichita, and the state legislature approved abatement of taxes on outbuildings.
On what?
On outbuildings, away from the residents.
Okay.
And that was something that had been done, this is for a fire, I understand, that I'm,
Yeah,
on the issue of the
right.
storm damage. Is that something we'd have to go to the state legislature in order for us to be able to act on that, or?
This is a fairly new, I mean, it happened in 2013 is when this was passed. We've never done a tornado here, we've only done fire. The directions I got from Property Valuation Division, they sent out directions to us in Douglas County. was that it does not, homestead, the definition of homestead does not include even residential outbuildings. Agricultural buildings, I would say it definitely would not, because agricultural outbuildings are considered basically commercial buildings. They are classified ag, but they have the same assessment rate as commercial outbuildings. And commercial buildings are not subject to this, it's only homestead.
So that's something we
it's-
have to go to the legislature.
I would think so. And, you know, when I say that's the direction I'm getting from this property valuation division says.
Okay,
got
because
an email
that's what he was
specific-
talking, maybe they could go next session and then
Maybe they could.
Make it
Retroactive.
backdated, so.
I would think redefining what homestead is or defining what homestead is a little further.
But if you can insure a structure and obviously claim insurance against damages and you're being taxed on said structure, if you can't utilize the structure because it exceeded whatever percentage of damage, you would think you could treat it the same way. I understand the definition of homestead and the complexity that comes along with it, but being taxed on an item that you also,
Don't have anymore?
yeah,
You can't
it's problematic.
generate income with it.
Yeah, and I understand that. Keep in mind, this is an exception to the rule.
Sure.
Before this, everybody, if it burned January 2nd, you paid a whole year's taxes.
Right.
So that's, you know, if you own a personal property item, most personal property items, vehicles are a little different. That is taxed. If you get rid of it, or, you know,
Right.
January 2nd, you're paying a whole year's worth of taxes. So that's the rule, and this is the exception, and we can only go by exception what the legislature made. But, I mean, I have no problem with it personally.
Sure.
But it's, you know,
And I don't think
And I was
anybody
on-
up here does either.
No, it's-
we
have to follow the
We have
law.
to follow what the state says.
yeah, and, you know, I can
And then I
go
guess-
before,
It's just,
I
can we apply for?
I can
we
call
make
the attorneys up
recommendations or
there
variance or-
and flesh that out a little bit more. I'm just going by, I've got an email that said
Sure.
this does not include outbuildings, even
But
residential detached
As a board,
structures.
could we send a letter to the property valuation division and ask for it, or?
What Representative Dove told me was we're gonna have to ask them to
Legislature.
legislate next session, but they could make it, they could backdate it.
Oh, retroactive.
Retroactive.
Okay.
So that's something I think, I'm
Well,
pretty sure we're all in favor of that.
Just put
That
it on
sounds
our
right,
list
Dave.
for what we want for
That
next
sound right?
session.
Does that sound right?
In the meantime, I'll contact the attorneys and have some further conversation from them.
I think that would be great if you don't mind, Bob. That, appreciate it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, certainly the avenue Mr. Weber is going to explore is the most expeditious. If special legislation is necessary, your staff can work with Representative Dove and your other local legislators with respect to special legislation, if necessary, to seek additional tax relief. And we can look into what relief was given to Sedgwick County through any special legislation.
Thank you.
So that area would be Senator Tom Holland, Willie Dove, Jim Carlskin, I'm not sure who else is in Douglas County.
Well, Senator Braun as well. You have two senators.
Senator Braun, this wouldn't be in Senator Braun's area.
Well-
I mean, it's Leavenworth County, I understand.
I think
that.
he'd rally to the flag.
I know, yeah, he would. So, but anyway, that'll be on our list, but we kind of got off track there. Sorry, Mr. Weber.
That's all right.
I'll entertain a motion on the tax abatement.
I would like to make a motion to approve the disaster relief tax credit for 400 Brookwood Street, tax ID 113013.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, voting?
Aye.
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 Second one is for a disaster relief for tax ID 1-28227. This property was destroyed by a fire on the 26th of January 2019. This would be an abatement against 2019 taxes for the amount of $10,057 for tax year 2019. So my recommendation is for an abatement.
Commissioners have any questions?
I'm sorry,
54,000.
yes. Just a second. I'm sorry, my form must be wrong here.
As I say, their taxes are higher than mine.
Yeah, I was-
Well, this is assessed value. Can I table this one and bring it back?
Yes, sir.
I believe I've got two different numbers there, and I didn't update the form, I didn't catch that. I will bring that back at a later date.
Next one looks pretty similar, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does. The next one looks similar. It's identical, I think.
I think it's just the assessed value of the homes was probably
Right.
Yeah, so,
on the wrong.
let me go back to this one. I think, yeah, my form is wrong. I have to, I guess I didn't update my form. I have the correct amounts of $10,796.
You got the right figure?
First one, $10,057 on the first one, and then the second one.
If you got the right figure, we can use that in the motion, can't we?
Yeah, I got the forms right, I just have in my line item on top, my recommendation is wrong. I apologize. So on the first one, on tax ID 1-28227, an abatement of $10,057 for tax year 2019.
Even?
Yes, $10,057. So if you see on the form, on the Leavenworth County Disaster Relief Termination, $10,057.
So I can make a motion for that amount, right?
Correct.
Tax ID.
Okay.
With that tax ID number.
So I make a
Tax
motion,
ID number 1-28227.
so I make a motion, we approve abatement in the amount of $10,057 for assessed value tax abatement for tax ID number 1-28227.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the abatement? None? Voting?
Aye.
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 And the third one
Is that
is
amount right on the
for
third one?
No.
tax ID 1-31941. It was destroyed by fire on March 4th of 2019. This would be an abatement of $8,141 for tax year 2019.
What was that amount again, Bob?
8,141.
So I make a motion, we approve abatement and assessed value for tax ID number 1-31941 for $8,141.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the abatement? Seeing none? Voting?
Aye.
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 Quarterly report.
I just had a question before we get into that. Did we send a letter out to all the tornado victims to let them know about this prorated
I was going to
disaster
address
relief?
that, but we have sent a letter out to
Okay.
ones that we
Was
think
it like
may
120?
qualify.
Like 120 houses or something that were destroyed, or what was the number?
Well, there was,
Damaged and
There was
destroyed.
50
Yeah, I think we did
totally
everything that
destroyed,
was like, we looked at was above 50% or.
And that was like
Yeah,
120
yeah.
houses, so,
So it's, if the cost to repair exceeds 50% of the value.
okay, and you sent letters notifying that there is this program?
We sent letters out.
Okay,
To everybody we thought would potentially.
okay.
qualify.
I hope they still have a mailbox.
Yeah, that's why I thought maybe
Well,
wait a while.
Yeah, I don't.
Wait a while to send them, because there's no big hurry, really.
Letter of some kind.
We would like to have them before mill levies is set. It's not critical, but it
So
it would be
September
better
1,
to
I mean,
have.
really, they got till September 1, right?
So, right.
Okay.
Maybe
So
we
is it
can,
possible, oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Well, is it possible to set up down at the community center for a couple days or something? We put it out that people can come down there and you have some of your staff down there? In Linwood,
Yeah, I guess that would be possible. I never thought about that.
I mean, we need to.
Or the
I
annex,
mean, it's a good idea.
or the county annex. It's pretty close.
Well,
Somebody's
most of the
already-
people
Linwood's
that's
better.
destroyed is Linwood, and
Yeah,
we did give $90,000 to fix up that community building
yeah,
last year.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So suggesting that we have somebody, how would we notify them that we would have somebody there for like a day or so? Or
Yeah, we can pick a date that kind of is open for doing that. Put add in Leavenworth Times, or in our legal thing, and then put it on our Facebook, social media,
Early August.
and then announce it
Mail to
here,
the people that-
and then mail.
And then also,
Because like I said, the Small Business Administration's down there for
Right
a
now.
week and a half, so. and
at the annex, would that be sufficient? Or
Linwood
I'd
Community
rather see
Center,
the
think
community
better.
center
Yeah.
myself.
community center in Linwood, do I need to set that up with somebody, I suppose?
With
City clerk,
Yeah.
Karen.
In Linwood.
We'll figure it out.
All right,
All right.
we'll work on that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Let's get back on track, huh?
We sent change of value notices March 1st. The 724 parcels were appealed at the informal level. For 2019, that's up a little bit from last year's. We didn't expect that since values did go up more. There was one property owner or developer that had many subdivision lots that peeled over 100 parcels, subdivision lots in there, so that did, pump that number up a little bit too. But those are the totals of the hearings. Those, you can look at it as compared to the hearings in the past, back when values weren't going up as much, there weren't very many hearings. But those numbers, 20 years ago, those numbers were double, easily double, so it's a reference. The values, certified value was an 8% increase total. After hearings, I think I reported like 8.3, 8.4 originally, but after hearings, it was 8%. Personal property values were also certified. Those were down, a decrease of 1%. Primarily, there would have been an increase, but business machinery and equipment continues to go down. If you're not aware, all business machinery and equipment purchased on or after July 1st, 2006 is exempt. So nothing comes on, only stuff as they get rid of it goes off, and it's all depreciated out. So it's sitting at the same value unless they dispose of it, and then it goes away. We're currently doing reinspection, maintenance reinspection. We're required to visit every property once every 6 years, so we try to divide that up evenly between every year, do about approximately 17% of the parcels. This year, we're doing rural parcels, basically from Parallel to McIntyre, and along with some parcels in Leavenworth and Lansing. We try to do a mixed combination, so we because it takes longer to do rural parcels than it does to city parcels, so we try to mix
How many
it.
staff members do you have involved in that process?
Well, I have 5, and then and then my deputy some, and I occasionally do some too, so.
And how long does it usually take to get it done, the 1/6?
Well, we usually take right up into November sometime. We have to, that's when we need to start setting values for the following year in order to get that to meet our timeframes. So by law, it's by December 31st, but really by the end of November, we need to have it done.
That's typically when you get it done in your
So
office.
is my math right in that there's like, 6,000 or better you're trying to complete a year?
Yeah, well, and actually, and I haven't gotten to the sales and building permits between those. It's close to a quarter of the parcels in the county we end up visiting every year.
Wow.
So the number of building permits are down a little bit this year. I'm sure that's going to go up with the recent damage we've had. But the total number of building permits are down, and the total number of sales are down a little bit also. January and February were down dramatically, and then the following months have been roughly the same, down just a little bit from last year's numbers.
So the 2018, 17, 16, 15 figures you're using, that's still, it's just first 4 months?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I got first 5 months of sales. I used first 4 months of building permits. The reason we didn't have all the building permits for May from the cities and everything, and we didn't. They sometimes take a while to get them to us. So I used first 5 months because we had all our sales with the first 5 months in.
30% less.
So that's why there's a little
They don't
difference.
confer with us.
Yeah. I drove by 3 new basements this morning on the way in. So I'd say our building permits are going to go up.
And that's total building permits,
Right.
that's rough, that's
Right.
everything, so. And sales and building permits in January and February are, weather does affect them. so,
Yes, especially this year.
Yeah, so. Again, damage assessment, I provided the numbers, this is slightly updated, we did add, 1 or 2 homes, there is 1 home added because of the flooding. We do this for emergency management, this damage assessment. It's for their numbers. For us, it's important, like I said, what we do with the disaster relief and what's there January 1st of each year. So going forward next year, we will, we'll have to visit more parcels than what we normally do, because we're going to have to go out and visit all these properties in this tornado area. So it'll be a little extra work this year.
And does your office know who has insurance and who doesn't?
We did record who has insurance and who doesn't on there, and we reported that in our form to emergency management. But 44 homes, 2 manufactured homes. So and then we've already kind of discussed the disaster relief. Is there any other questions on that?
So we had you said 138 and 21 outbuildings, is that what it was? About 160 buildings, 159, whatever. Are completely gone, completely destroyed?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, hopefully the legislature will do something for the folks next session. It takes something like this to get something changed, really.
Yeah, I think they're interested, so we need to just,
Stay on it.
If you go back to the valuation piece at the beginning, so it seems like the last, 3 or 4 years, the number of appeals, almost 50% year over year continues to climb. Now, we know that this last year it climbed because of the step up, and we've obviously heard from lots of people, as have you, in regards to those valuations. What can we do to better educate residents as to the formulas and how that occurs so that confusion or misconception doesn't get the better of some? Because you can imagine there's quite a few stories out there, I'm sure, so.
Well, yeah, there is. I have, in the past, I've gone around to the civic organizations, and described what we've done. I don't know, I guess we could, we do put what the trends were. We do publish that, before, we're required to. We put it on the website and we do publish it. I'm not sure how to get, other than, getting something in the newspaper, about what we do and how we do it. I'm just.
Well, and I didn't even know if even the statements that will go out going forward, I mean, even if there's something that we can do to help further educate, right, and I realize that still means people have to read.
There is some videos out there that kind of describe what we do. I can search and purchase those, but we can put those on the website. And maybe trying to, I think, be more effective, anything we do, doing just before we send out change of value notices.
Right.
Why it is, what we do, and what we do. There's a couple short videos, they do cost some money, but I can purchase that are pretty new within the last couple of years.
Obviously, we know this is it is a state formula.
Yes.
It's not a specific to Leavenworth County item.
It's an appraisal formula that
Right.
is found in appraisal, but.
And it's
yes,
established by the
it's
legislature.
Statute by statute, we have to, and revalue every year, and we're held to a standard of sales. We use sales, but we're also held to that standard too. If we fall out of compliance, we're going to have to present if we don't, if sales are going up and we don't increase our values, it will show eventually in the sales ratio, and then we'll be out of compliance, and we'll have to present a plan for getting back into compliance.
And we do get a report card on that
So,
from the state.
right, we get a report card on that, and all the procedural compliance we do also, all our procedures.
And this Leavenworth County score is pretty high.
And you do not ever, other than on commercial properties, use valuations outside of Leavenworth County, correct?
We have not. We have not just gathered. Now, if, say, a commercial property is
Right.
being appealed, that doesn't mean we wouldn't go outside because you have
Right.
unique properties. And the people appealing that do the same thing. And we would look to those to see, are we right or are we wrong on those values? But that would be proper. Residential, we just never, we'd have to get data from another county. And one of the issues, when you're using data from another county, you're controlling your data in your county, you're doing it consistently. You don't always know that the other county is doing it consistently. So that's one of the things, one of the issues if you're using. There are counties that have, you go out to western Kansas and they do regional studies. They don't have much, you're talking counties that have, 20 to 30 residential sales a year where we have over 1,000.
Right, and so you use our local, is what I'm saying, your office uses the Leavenworth County for residential valuations. You use Leavenworth County data exclusively.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was exactly the question.
We don't have in our residential values, we don't have any data from anything other than Leavenworth County.
Thank you.
But it's not illegal or against the law for you to use data?
No, it is certainly not. And one could argue, like, say, if you're valuing a high dollar property in Falcon Lakes that, comparables from Wyandotte County, might not be, might,
Be more.
So if, for instance, someone in Wyandotte County said that their property had been compared to something in Johnson County, that could have happened.
could have, I would say doubtful. But, well, I would say yes. Actually, I've had a conversation with the Wyandotte County appraiser. There's one subdivision that goes in between the two counties, that, the county line goes through the subdivision, and they do use sales back and forth.
So it's possible
Yeah,
that did
so,
happen.
yeah.
But you don't consult with the county commissioners about how to value property?
Generally not. I mean, I will inform you in that sort of thing.
Right, but we don't tell you how much we need for you to value property.
I've never had that happen.
No. Thank you.
The county appraisers are appointed to 4-year terms.
Right,
That is true. The purpose of that is to try to keep politics out of, or the appearance of impropriety out of. We have appraisal standards. We are required, and we do. There's called the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. And one of the things is it would be against that, and we're required by law to follow that, to have some sort of target in mind before we went out and valued property. Because what I found out, I can have an idea of what property's doing, but before I know exactly what the county valuation went up is just before I deliver it to you, because that's, when I run the reports off the system and get the reports out of the system, as soon as we get it done, the valuation done. So I don't know exactly even, until right before we send out change of value notices, how much it actually went up. Because I obviously can't do it all myself. So when we get done, run reports and figure that out. But we certainly don't go in with a target in mind. We obviously have some ideas because you see the sales. We've done the studies. We do trend analysis against the sales. We use 2 years of sales. We drop off 1 year and add another year of sales each year.
If you remember, Mr. Weber came before this board, before he sent the green envelopes out explaining pretty much what he's doing right now, and that there was going to be a pretty good increase. And Mr. Richmeyer reported in the paper also and done a good job of that, so I thought we did a pretty good job of informing, but, it was a pretty good increase, because I was kind of shocked when I got mine, but.
Remember, it's not a bill, though. It's not a bill. It's a notice.
It evolves into a
Look at it
You
how
wouldn't
you
know.
want.
It evolves into a bill.
Yeah.
But that's all
No, I
right.
found the same humor in it, trust me.
Well,
I'm just glad my property's worth that much.
I had a question on this disaster
trying
relief.
to manipulate that.
When these 48 or 44 houses, when they bring however many you get applications for, can this be put together as a whole, or does it have to be presented individually?
I can do it however you want. You'd prefer to do it. I would suggest, they're going to trickle in, no matter what.
You could hold them to a certain time,
but-
or would it be better to handle them as they come in?
I can hold them all until we get a bunch of them, but they're still going to trickle in even after. I can hold and I can present as many as possible. I'd like to do that before they sent mill levies, and then they may still trickle in after mill levies. There's no real time frame here. There might be like a couple-year time frame in the law, but in the law, there really doesn't present a time frame for appealing for these, other than maybe a couple years.
if they pay taxes, can they still file one of these?
They can still file, but it's a credit, then it automatically becomes a credit against the
Okay.
next year's taxes.
But it's not, but it's still doable if they pay the taxes, like,
Right.
like other protests, once you pay the taxes, you can't protest, but.
This is still,
Okay.
yes.
That'd probably be Mr. Van Perry's questions if we had to do them individually or lump them together.
Commissioners, the parcels will have to be individually identified, again, using the tax ID number, but it can be a consolidated motion. You could wait till you believe most of them have come in and do it at that time, or as Mr. Weber alluded to, you could do it on an ongoing basis. I think to relieve any administrative burden on your appraiser's office, do them on a relatively regular basis rather than let them pile up. But it will be presented to you with specific identification for each parcel.
Quick question. Similar to how we've addressed even special use permits and giving the ability for the department, is it necessary for Bob and his team to bring that in front of the board, knowing that we are obviously going to approve all tax relief related to the damages for the
Well,
storm?
you might not, Commissioner Shimke. While you have no control, I'll go forward to say, you have no control whatsoever as to the formula that is applied by your appraiser's office in valuing property. That's clearly established by law. It's also established by law that to grant exceptions to the tax laws of the state of Kansas, that exception has to be approved either through the Board of Tax Appeals or through administrative basis set up by the state, or from time to time, matters brought specifically before you. So I believe it requires commission authorization.
And, even administratively, I understand that it can bring it on, but I think that individual taxpayers that have lost their homes, whether it's a formality or not, it feels good to them to know that, okay, this has happened. I am not responsible for this. So to hold it off for a long period of time till we collect up a whole batch is stressful. It's stressful to the property owners who have lost their property to think, okay, has this been abated or not? And so I think that as quickly as we can get them and go through them and approve them once they have applied, is probably better.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I was proposing real time, allow Bob and his staff to go ahead and take care of them as
Well,
they
but-
come in versus
But
the
they
process of
can't
going in
do
front
that,
of
but
us.
to bring them to us
Right.
as they come in and he recommends approval, even if it's weekly, that he comes in with.
You said maybe that we could do that real time though, right?
Yeah, we can bring them in.
Every week.
Every week.
I mean, but
we can't do.
We can't just make it
We
blanket.
can't do it.
No,
to
you
staff.
can't do a blanket authorization.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think long delay, but like you told the people right in your letter, didn't you say 45 days?
Yeah, I did give 45 days to try to get them in.
So that would be a logical time, 45 days, bring a big,
That's to reach the August or the
I
September.
can put them all in one form,
right,
list all the tax IDs, list the amounts.
and just make it very,
Right, and just make it, one motion for them all.
right. So anyway, thank you for all your work. I know it's been a lot of effort that you've gone to with the tornado, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, sir.
If you need any help setting up something in Linwood, just let us know.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
All right,
Do
thank you.
presentation, their discussion first.
We ready for the executive session?
Your discretion, yes, Commissioners.
He's getting ready to get a motion. In the meantime, see.
We're going to go today. Anybody going this afternoon to the Focus?
That's what I was gonna ask. You gonna be able to
I'm
make
gonna try
time?
to, I'm gonna try
Okay.
to. No, well, no, not Tommy, I'm gonna, because I have a meeting tonight, but I'm gonna go to the one up in, there's one at noon at where the school up there.
Pleasant
Up in
Ridge
Easton.
Elementary School. Yeah.
Pleasant Ridge?
Yeah, Pleasant Ridge. I'm gonna try to go to that one.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll be with both of them today.
okay, you can make Tongue.
I'm going to be
I'll
at,
be at Tongue's
Pleasant Ridge.
tomorrow.
is what I'm saying. They have
Oh,
two at
okay.
Pleasant Ridge today.
I'm going to those.
Okay,
Tommy has one at noon tomorrow, right?
noon and 4.
And do you need somebody, you wanting somebody to go tomorrow too?
No, I can go.
All right.
Tomorrow I can do.
And I did have one question on the focus group scheduling, if you know, or if you know, Are all of these going to be during the day, mostly like,
1247?
so, 12/4/7s? Is that, and weekdays? Is that pretty much going to be the standard?
Looks like we're on next week's agenda.
Right.
There's 10 meetings.
No, I'm just saying, when we schedule
Right.
12 and 4 meetings for focus groups, it's still, I have
People got
concerns that
jobs.
people have jobs and then that they can't necessarily take off to
Uh-huh.
participate in this process when they're discussing, especially if they have specific interests.
I'll be interested to see how many attend the one here at noon at Pleasant Ridge. Interesting.
Right, but I think I'm just saying, sometimes for individuals, it's difficult to get off of work to attend that,
Should be in the evening,
and
probably.
so that's why I was questioning, or on a weekend, or, the 7 PM one, I'm sure,
Are we the only two going to that? The Pleasant Ridge at noon?
I'm going to Pleasant Ridge in there.
Today?
Are you going?
I'm planning.
That's 3.
Oh,
If it's on the agenda.
It's on the
Okay,
agenda.
okay.
On the agenda, we're covered.
It's an open
Just-
meeting.
I'm just gun shy.
I hear you.
Yep.
Cool beans.
So my
Otherwise, I would
additional
go.
question to the 12, 4, and 7 was locations, like,
I can
what,
stay home just in case.
how is that rotation occurring or not? Because I primarily
You
see
gotta
two.
babysit.
2
I've got a
locations.
Right,
babysitter.
Yeah.
Tongi and Easton.
Uh-huh. We didn't set it up.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, is there?
First of all, they had to
will we see
identify
babysitter and dancing
locations.
And others as well, or not?
They identified locations that could host it, that they could also afford, and that they could leave set up for the day. And the locations, they approached 2 locations here in the city of Leavenworth, and they weren't able to leave it set up. They would have to take it down, whereas these locations allow them to leave it set up throughout the day and into the next day if need be. So that's some of it, but.
And then you said also afford it?
They didn't come to me.
Well, some of it was,
Could have found for free.
some of it was cost-based. Most of it was, like Easton and the one in Tonganoxie, I don't believe they charge anything for those. So one of the,
That's what I was saying, I would have assumed all
One of the
these
locations here
locations, no cost.
Leavenworth, there was a cost, and then there was also the fact that they didn't have a time frame where they could leave it set up into the next day. They would have to take it down.
I just wanted
That
to
just
make
seems really,
contact.
it's like, we're gonna charge, so that way our constituents can't attend or have input.
I don't think they probably contacted the right organizations to get free space, because I've many times gotten free space in Leavenworth for meetings and just set up all day.
Well, we got those conference room downstairs here in this building.
That's not large enough to
They can
conduct.
have that many people?
The meeting
Yeah.
room downstairs would not come close to holding. And they need to have it set up where they can have area for the people to move to discuss.
Station.
Yeah, so.
We had them
that's-
down there last time. It didn't work very
It
good.
wasn't
Yeah.
too big.
Because the maps were
Too
big.
big of a
They-
turnout.
There's
they
also-
put maps out, and big table.
Yeah, there's also parking, here, getting parking, because we're busy with other
Yeah,
parking.
they
So
do.
over these other locations, there'll be plenty of parking
Yeah.
available.
Did you do it on purpose?
I hope there's a big turnout for these. I mean, there was at the library over in,
Base for that.
yeah, there was a big turnout, but fairly important what we're doing.
Now, next week, it's the same day as Mid-America Regional Council meeting, so I'll talk to Mr. Fields if Mr. Fields can make sure he'll be there, and then I'll just go with this one.
And just a clarification on this comprehensive plan, once this is presented, it will be presented to the planning commission, then the planning commission will advance that up to this board? Is that how the plan is?
It'll be, yeah, just like the land use we did on County Road 1, it's really the same process. It's just it's longer because we're talking about the whole county, trying to get more people involved, north, south, east, west. But the process, as far as steps, yes, it will go Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission will have a public hearing on it. They'll make a recommendation on it. It'll come up to the Board of County Commissioners for final approval. Just very similar to the County Road 1.
All right.
I'll entertain a motion on the executive session.
Who wants to read it? Okay. I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of pending litigation in which the county has or may have an interest in, specifically case number 2019-CV-0021 in the District Court for the Leavenworth County, Kansas, and case number 2019 CV-2316 in the U.S. District Court for the District of Kansas as justified by KSA 75-4319B. And 2, for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume open meeting at 10:10?
I believe that'd be enough time, Commissioner.
At 10:10 a.m. in the meeting room of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioners Culbertson, Cos, Shimke, Smith, and Stevens, Senior County Counselor David Van Paris, and County Administrator Mark Lawfrey.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the executive session. Any further discussion? Seeing none, voting?
Aye.
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 Go to Mr. Lawfrey's office. Motion. Let the record show that we have returned to regular session
It's,
at 10:10.
10:10.
Yep.
Actually, this one's 10:08.
Mine says 10:10.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, now that you've returned to regular session, I believe it is 10:10 or thereafter, I would ask that the board consider a motion to ratify actions taken by myself to retain legal counsel to cause the filing of case number 2019 CV 2316 in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Kansas for the representation of Leavenworth County in what I'll refer to as opioid litigation.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, voting?
Just quick question, would it make sense just to disclose the leading law firm in the case that's representing us? I more often than not, that seems to create concern or confusion how that all occurred. I think that would be worth noting.
Certainly, Commissioner. Commissioners, the county has been contacted by numerous law firms over the last year and a half regarding potential representation of Leavenworth County in this matter. It's a matter of national interest. There's currently a multi-district litigation in federal courts that is proceeding. Leavenworth County will undoubtedly become part of that. The firm that Leavenworth County has chosen, I believe, is the lead counsel on this on the national level. Through my contact with them, I was impressed with their knowledge, and I believe their ability to adequately represent the citizens of Leavenworth County in this case. So the decision was made on a truncated evaluation. I believe that there are numerous qualified law firms that have been chosen by other municipalities to cause or have their representation undertaken, and they're all well chosen. This firm will work in concert with those other firms to move forward with this litigation. So that is more or less how we picked them.
The name of the firm that's out of Florida that's
Well,
leading the effort?
I'd refer to it as a Simmons Law Group. The lead counsel is technically shown on the page that I showed you. And there are several legal firms and groups involved in that.
I just thought, sorry to elongate this discussion, I just thought the fact that we're choosing the law firm that is located in Florida, that is leading the effort, that is on the front end of this from a size and scale perspective rather than within county or neighboring county sure makes a lot of sense on our behalf. I just thought it was worth.
And Commissioners, again, you were contacted by several very qualified law firms. It's a matter of choosing one over the other. They were all qualified, and I have chosen, I did confer with Mr. Lawfrey, but it was my determination that this firm would be more than adequate to represent the interests of the citizens of Leavenworth County in this matter.
The firm selected, as he mentioned, was the lead firm. They started the litigation on this, on the opioid cases. They represent in excess of 600 governmental entities in the litigation at this point. There's one other law firm that's out there that is also based out of Florida that is one of the large firms as well. But they are the one chosen by county councilor as the initiating firm.
This firm also represents Sedgwick County, I believe Cowley County and Cherokee County, and possibly several others in the future.
That's all I had.
Yeah, okay. Any further discussion?
We have no way of knowing the time frame we're talking about. It could be 5 years, 10 years, it could be 3 years.
I would say it is somewhere between the end of business today and an undetermined date in the future.
And an undetermined amount of recovery.
And Commissioner, again, I will provide you with an electronic copy of the total complaint, but I believe the relief sought covers the goals that are being undertaken for the county.
Any further discussion? And voting?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners. I will keep you informed as this matter proceeds.
All right, thank you. Is there any further more business for the board? I want to remind everybody of the Mel Hedrick Fishing Derby on Saturday, 8 o'clock at Happy Hollow Lake. I don't know
I'll be
about the
there.
weather.
I'll be there.
Even if it's raining.
Rain or shine.
Yeah.
I attended the Linwood City Council meeting last evening.
Oh, yeah?
Still working on recovery from, pretty much things are wrapping up, but there's still a lot of work to be done down there as far as debris. There's still some debris to remove.
Okay. Did you make Tongi?
Didn't make time.
Did not make Tonganoxie?
Leavenworth canceled theirs.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Lansing's tomorrow.
Lansing's tomorrow night. I made Baser last Wednesday. They were working on their budget, so.
I'll be
And-
attending the Klaczynski wedding this weekend.
Oh, that's correct. We will be. We'll be. What else was going on? Oh, we went to the livestock, 4 of us.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah.
Chad spoke.
That's very
and,
nice.
Thank you for doing that, and I thought that was a really good, explaining how Public Works has been pulled away from the roads to work down there, to be patient. They will get back on the roads and get it. I thought that was good. That you did that, and appreciate you speaking that night.
No, so Mr. McGaha had provided an update on the storm, so we were able to share that with all of those that were in attendance. And I think given the weather being what it was and how poor it's been, it probably wasn't as big as it usually is. I think a lot of people were out in the fields. But no, it was a good event. It was great to get some updates from the KLA president who attended, and we even had some other local leaders, like Tom Holland was there. And so, no, I thought it was good. Appreciate everybody coming. And I know, Mike, you were actually stuck. You had gotten pulled a couple of different directions relative
I was in
to
Linwood.
storm relief. So we let them know that
You missed a good meal.
the food was very good.
Was it fish?
No.
Chicken.
No. Okay, and then today is the comp meetings. And then, like I said, the wedding this weekend.
Yeah.
And then next week's some comp meetings, so. I guess we're adjourned.